The copier made one copy for the embassy. That was the copy everyone could see. The page came out warm, ordinary and white. It went into a folder. It crossed a desk. It became part of the day's paperwork. But according to the account that survived, the machine may have made another copy first. Not on paper, not in the output tray. A smaller copy, hidden on film, taken inside the machine at the exact moment the document passed through light. That is the beginning of Project 914. Welcome to Terra, Chrono. If you like archive stories where ordinary machines become stranger the longer you inspect them, like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This file is about a photocopier. More precisely, it is about the moment a photocopier stopped being office equipment and became a document source. The obvious version of the story sounds simple. Hide a camera in the room. Photograph the documents. Leave before anyone notices. But embassies are built around the problem of noticing. A stranger near the files is noticed. A clerk touching the wrong drawer is noticed. A visitor staying too long in the wrong hallway is noticed. A repairman is different. In the reported account, the important person was not a case officer in a trench coat. It was the Xerox technician who could enter the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C., because the office machine needed service. He could carry tools, he could open panels, he could kneel beside the copier with parts spread across the floor. He could do exactly the things that would look suspicious from anyone else and look boring from him. That was the access. And access is usually the most expensive part of an intelligence operation. The camera can be designed, the film can be hidden, the trigger can be tested, but none of that matters if nobody can get close enough to the machine at the right time without creating a trail. The service technician solved that problem before the technical team even began. He had a reason to be there. He had a reason to touch the machine. He had a reason to return. If the copier failed, he came back. If the copy quality faded, he came back. If a part wore down, he came back. The route itself became cover. The machine was the Xerox 914. Xerox later described it as the first automatic plain paper commercial copier, announced publicly in 1959. It helped make copying feel normal. A document went under glass, a button was pressed, a page came out. To an office, that was convenience. To an intelligence service, it was a ritual. The same action happened again and again. Sensitive paper entered the same machine. The machine lit it, reflected it, measured it, and rebuilt it on a blank sheet. The document did not have to be stolen. For a few seconds, the machine already held its image. The question was whether that image could be intercepted. The account says the CIA went to Xerox itself. A small team was assembled away from normal work. One version of the story places the experiments in an abandoned bowling alley, a strange detail that makes the whole thing feel less like a spy film and more like an engineering job nobody was supposed to admit existed. That is the part worth noticing. The problem was not cinematic. It was mechanical. A copier is not empty. It is glass, mirrors, rollers, lamps, drums, belts, toner, heat, paper paths, switches and noise. The Xerox 914 was large enough to hide things, but also crowded enough to punish bad design. A camera could not simply be dropped inside and expected to work. It had to see the right image. It had to fire at the right time. It had to survive heat and vibration. It had to stay hidden during normal maintenance. It had to be quiet enough that the copier's own noise swallowed it. And if it used film, someone had to come back and retrieve that film before it ran out. So the team did not try to photograph the paper in the ordinary sense. They used the copier's own optical life against it. When a document is copied, the machine already creates an internal image path. Light strikes the original. Mirrors and lenses move that image toward the photoconductive surface. In a normal office, that path is just a stage in making a copy. In Project 914, it becomes the target. The reported device used a small camera aimed at the mirror path inside the copier. A photocell watched for the burst of light that meant the machine was operating. When the copier began its cycle, the light itself told the camera to take the frame. The copier became its own trigger. That detail matters because it removes the human timing problem. The technician did not have to stand nearby guessing when the Soviets would copy something useful. The camera did not have to run continuously. The machine announced the moment of exposure by doing what it was built to do. Every copy cycle became a possible photograph. At first, the test images would have been ugly. Crooked, overexposed, partial, a little too early, a little too late. A document edge. A line of type. A black rectangle where a hand blocked the light. But intelligence does not always need a perfect page. Sometimes it needs a heading, a date, a signature block, a map label, a classification mark, a name repeated twice in the margin. A copy machine does not choose what matters. It sees everything placed on the glass. That is why the repair route becomes the real cover story. A radio transmitter hidden in an embassy machine creates risk. Radio signals can be hunted. Power draw can be noticed. Strange emissions can become evidence. Film is old, silent, and inconvenient. But inconvenience can be useful. Film waits. It does not transmit. It does not ask the room for anything. It only requires that someone return. And the technician already had a reason to return. That choice also changes the feeling of the operation. A radio bug wants to escape the room immediately. It leaks while the target is still there. Film behaves more like a dead archive. It keeps quiet. It accepts delay. It trades speed for deniability. If the machine was swept between service visits, there might be no signal to find. No voice in the wall. No suspicious broadcast. No battery begging to be replaced every week. Only a copier with ordinary problems, and a technician expected to solve them. In this version of the operation, each service call had two meanings. To the embassy, it was maintenance. To the file, it was collection. The cover did not need to explain why the machine was opened. The machine itself explained it. Copiers jam. Copiers overheat. Copiers need cleaning. Copiers need parts. The perfect hiding place was not inside the machine. It was inside the expectation that machines need repair. The most unsettling question is what the camera would have seen. Not only Soviet documents, also the documents the Soviets chose to copy. That is a different kind of intelligence. A copied page tells you not only what exists, but what someone thought was worth preserving, distributing, filing, translating, or sending onward. If an embassy copies a technical drawing, the drawing matters. If it copies a diplomatic cable, the cable matters. If it copies an American document it should not have, then the copy machine has just revealed a leak without interrogating a single person. That is why the operation has a strange elegance. It does not chase the courier. It waits beside the device the courier trusts. The paper arrives already important. The account also has limits. The public story is not the same as a fully opened CIA technical file. It comes through later reporting, interviews, and engineering recollection. The exact number of machines, the exact documents photographed, and the full intelligence value remain unclear. That uncertainty should not weaken the lesson. It sharpens it. Because the lesson is not that one specific camera solved the Cold War. The lesson is that office equipment changed what could be collected. Before the copier, duplication was slower, more visible, more manual. A clerk might type carbon copies. A photographer might need a camera. A person might need to carry a file. The Xerox 914 made duplication routine. It made copies fast enough and ordinary enough that people stopped treating the act of copying as an exposure event. That was the mistake. Security often protects the document at rest. The folder is locked, the safe is sealed, the courier is cleared, the meeting room is swept, the wastebasket is inspected, the finished copy is counted. But the machine in the middle is trusted. That middle moment is easy to miss because it feels temporary. The document is not yet gone. The copy is not yet filed. No one has handed anything to a stranger. The page is simply being processed. But processing is a kind of exposure. It is furniture until someone asks what it saw. There is a modern echo to this. Decades later, digital copiers created a different problem. Many stored images on internal hard drives. Offices discovered that a machine sold at the end of a lease could still hold scans, copies, and faxes from years of use. That is not the same mechanism as Project 914. The old machine did not need a hard drive. It needed glass, light, film, and access. But the assumption is the same. People trust a copier because it is not a person. They trust it because it looks passive. They trust it because it is supposed to forget. Project 914 asks the colder question. What if forgetting was never part of the machine? Imagine the room again. A document is placed face down on the glass. The lid closes. The lamp moves. The machine warms, hums, flashes, and pulls paper through its path. The visible copy lands in the tray. Everyone watches the tray. Nobody watches the inside of the machine. That is where the second copy lives, not as paper, not as a file number, not as a stolen folder under a coat. A narrow image on film, waiting for the next service visit. The genius of the operation was not that it made a spy gadget look like a copier. It made a copier remain a copier. That is why the final note in this file should not be about cameras. It should be about trust. The most dangerous machine in an office is rarely the one that looks secret. It is the one that everybody uses, everybody ignores, and everybody allows to touch the documents first. In Project 914, the page was not stolen after it became a document. It was taken while becoming a copy. If this kind of archive story is what you came for, like the video, subscribe to Terra Chrono, and turn on notifications. The next file begins with the same uncomfortable question. What else in the room remembers for 1 second longer than it should?